You are looking live at a daily chart of the Nasdaq. Welcome to my daily review. Today is Monday, June 2nd, the first trading session of the new month, and there's a thought process that when pension funds are funded, which they are on the first of the month, that they're automatically the funds are put to use and the market goes higher. Well, having sit on some steering committees for pension funds, it is true that the pensions are funded on the first, but that doesn't mean that the managers at Fidelity or whatever, Schwab or whatever fund are with, that doesn't mean they put them to work immediately. But yeah, there is a theory that the pension funds, which are massive, right? The teacher funds around the country are funded, and a lot of union funds are funded on the union pensions, I should say, are funded on the first of the month. But that doesn't mean that they're going to go to work immediately. And whenever I hear a theory like this on Wall Street, it works some of the time, and some of the time it doesn't. But there's no fail-safe, foolproof method that works 100% of the time. But today, 128-point move, 0.67%. 14% below the average 50-day volume for the Nasdaq. It closed at 19,242. And I just got to say that if you're just looking at this thing, from afar, you could just say, well, we had this nice little rally up off the lows, and then we had the non-believers take profits, and we had another rally up, and then it kind of consolidated here, and then we had another little rally up, and then it consolidated here for a couple of weeks, and we had this nice strong rally up, and it's just kind of consolidating, hasn't broken out of this little box yet. But I know a lot of people still don't believe in this uptrend because of you're looking at macro data and, the wars and the everything that's going on globally. And so it's easy to form a bare thesis, but you just got to look at the index and say, gosh, it looks like it wants to go higher. It has shrugged off a ton of bad news recently in that, the Moody's downgrade a couple of weeks ago that didn't, it shrugged it right off. The Trump tariff news on Europe 50% and China, blah, blah, blah. And it still wants to go higher. So if they can't push it down on bad news, it's going to go higher. And that's what it's doing. I think it's just going to, mark time for a little while. But one of these days, it goes up in spurts and it's going to spurt 1, 2, 3% higher. And I showed the weekly chart because I do believe it's going to take at that 20,204. Just give it some time, right? It's not going to do it, tomorrow or the next day, but yeah, I think in time that 20,204 is getting taken out. We had the lows, and then we switched tunes on the tariff, and then we started ripping higher. We had a 27% correction, mostly due to the tariffs, and now the tariffs are being reworked or reworded or whatever. But the index is kind of, I shouldn't say the index, but the programs have kind of figured out the lingo from this administration. And I just think that's going to shrug off all bad news and any good news is going to be rewarded and we're going higher. And that's my expectation. It's not a prediction, it's my expectation. Expectations can be broken, and then I'll just adjust accordingly. If my expectations are broken, then I'm going to have to make some changes. But we woke up this morning, yippee-ki-yay, to some really good news from the drug stocks. And it's been a long, long, long time coming. And I'm going to start, I guess, with the buyout. Yeah, Blueprint Medicines bought out by Sanofi. And it was up a nice jolt there of 26% premium on the buyout. So that's always rewarded. Let me see. LYRA has got some top line down phase three data, 310% on that news. Thank you very much. We'll take that. A nice 300% move to wake up to. Merry Christmas in June. TBPH, whenever you have a PH at the end of your ticker symbol, you've got to have you got to be in medicine, right? PH. Here's breaking out of this little box here on the weekly up 22% today. Theravance Biopharma. And then Bristol Myers had a going in with BioNTech on a drug. And so they're cooperating as partners. BNTX was up 18%. So a lot of good news here in the biotech space, which has just been absolutely slaughtered for a long, 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 long time. If I go to the weekly, just look at this downtrend from November of 2024. So yeah, that's right after the election. So yeah, it's been a world of hurt for the last 6 months for the drug stocks. But maybe there's going to start to turn around. I'm going to have a couple of those later on in this little YouTube video here. Anyway, I wanted to point out more news here with the steel, Trump in the steel business here, up 10% on Steel Dynamics, Cleveland Cliffs, up 23%. Thank you very much. And then Nucor, another one of these steel producers, up 10%. Oh, before I go on, I did the Nasdaq, but I've got to get to some of these Mag 7 stocks that actually look good to me. Normally, I just kind of ignore them because I'm not really interested. But Meta Platforms, mentioned this before. I don't think I put it on the ready list. I put Amazon on, but not this one. This is this nice cup with handle pattern. And it looks like it's ready to break out starting today, up 3.5%. And the other one is Amazon, another one of these cup with handle patterns. They both look really good to me. So in the Mag 7 group, I think those two look the best. Tesla, we had it on our ready list recently as it had the little ledge pattern here as it pulled back to the 10 before breaking out. I did not put it on this week. And now that I'm going to the leading stocks, if you will, I'm going to change this to the 5 EMA. The Nasdaq, bounced off the 10, but that's an index. And the leading stocks need to be bouncing off the 5. And I'm going to get there. All right. That's enough for the Mag 7s, unless you want to look at NVIDIA as it bounced off its 5 today. So NVIDIA is looking a lot better as well. All right. I'm going to move on because I want to get to some of these stocks that I'm really interested in. Some of the leading stocks. Every morning I post these relative strength stocks, and they change from time to time. Sometimes a stock will go up a lot on volume, which is a kind of a junk stock like this one here, SPET. It was in it for like one day because it had this big move, and now you see what happens. All right, I digress, right? I just wanted to get to some of the defense names. Howmet is one that's been on there for a long time, a defense name, and you could see why it gapped up after earnings and then just followed its 5. And we're seeing quite a few stocks like this just trending higher. And people want to know, how do I buy them? How do I buy them? Well, you just got to wait for a pullback. This one pulled back 2 days to the 5, then ripped up. Pull back 2 days to the 5, then ripped up. Pull back 2 days to the 5, then ripped higher. And that's just the pattern for now. It could change, but I would buy it on a pullback to the 5 if I wanted to own it. I don't own it. GE, a leader in this space. I like owning leaders. Do I own this? No, I don't own any defense names. I own GEV, but not GE. Look at this one. It pulled back 3 days to the 5, undercut the 5. So probably some folks sold there and they got the old okey doke on the shakeout. And this thing just keeps ripping higher, made a new high today. Curtis Wright, another one. I wouldn't say a leader in the group, but it's still surfing the 5, has a couple of little ants there on your screen indicating strength. And then KTOS, this is one that has been on that list that I post, a relative strength list every morning. It's just amazing how those stocks that showing strength continue to show strength. It's kind of a trend. Anyway, that's it for those stocks. Okay, I'm going to move on because I got a lot to get to today. There's a lot going on in the market. And this is AU, not Under Armour, Anglo Gold Ashanti. This is a top performing gold stock this year. And when I post in the morning, every morning I post the commodities. And when you see gold up 3% in the morning, you kind of know the gold stocks are going higher. Now, this one has been the top performing in the group, as I say, and the group is a top group. Every Saturday, I post the leading top performers in 2025 for the industry groups, and this industry group was a second top performing group. The computer software education media group is number one with Spotify and Duolingo. But this has been number two, and these stocks have pulled back. This one you can see pull back near its 50, just consolidating within a base. Did I put this on the ready list today? No, I missed it, but it was up 8 what, 8.2%. Very nice day. I did put Wheaton on. This one is more of, more my style. Not quite as choppy as Anglo Gold Ashanti, but this one had this nice, clear, I think, 86.55 buy point with that pullback last week to its five. And you can see it bounced today, nearly 6%. So, that's a good trade for you right there. Closed near the highs of the session. You could see that hammer candle, 99% of the daily range. So maybe we get I don't know, a continuation tomorrow. You just have to wait and see, but definitely pay attention to those commodities in the morning because they tend to trade, in the way that the actual commodity is trading. And then excuse me, I already showed you Agnico Eagle Mines. This is another Canadian company, and this one popped, nearly 5.5% today. I could have put this one on as well. It had the same profile as Wheaton, but I didn't want to have too many of the same stocks on, so I picked that one. I believe I had about 40 stocks that I could have chose from this morning. I only put on nine on my ready list, and WPM was one. So that was at least one worked out. All right, I've got to get to something that's bugging me and that I just got to share with you. Palantir, obviously a leader, just kind of flat. I have it on my ready list. And people were, asking, what's wrong with Palantir? What's wrong? Nothing. The thing was up nearly 8% on Friday, so it's bound to give some back. It did spike. I got to go to the 5 minute here. It spiked in the morning, right? So that's kind of like Monday morning spike. It's like, okay, we can sell. And now you got this rip from well, you can even go further on Friday, 122 up to 134. I mean, come on. And so it pulled back a little bit. You get some profit takers. There's nothing wrong with this stock. It just had some profit taking. And then it kind of rallied some buyers into the close. It was flat on the session, but still, to me, on the daily chart, this looks fine. I'm going to leave this one on my ready list. It made a new high today. I mean, I don't know what you want from these stocks. It's just you got to know the relationship between that five and the stock. And at 134, it's what, 5 or 6% above the 5 EMA. So, it'll pull back to that five and keep bouncing off that, I believe, as long as this trend continues. But I just wanted to show, bigger picture. If we go back a couple of months to, November, and you look at Palantir here, how it, came public, had this big run. Then we had the bear market in 2022, and 2023 and 2024 is a big leader. Kind of stalled here a couple of months last year, and then just kind of rallied into year end. And so you're looking at right here of November of 2024, and I just pointing this out to you. Just look at this chart right here and ingrain that into your brain as I move forward here, as we look at the next few months and how it's rallied up, right? Now, because I'm going to go to a couple of other charts here that I like that kind of look like Palantir did before the big move here. And this one came public right before the bear market in 2020. At the end of 2021, Powell started raising rates and all these stocks went lower. And Robinhood has just formed this, to me, an IPO base. Dutch Bros, the same thing, very similar to what Palantir did. And I don't think these have even started their moves yet, is the point that I'm trying to make with Dutch Bros, with Robinhood, and with DoorDash. They all came, public right before the bear market, and now they've got this same profile as Palantir. I know they're different companies, I know they're different stocks, but I'm just talking about the monthly chart, the profile. I think if we're looking out 12 to 36 months from now, you're going to be happy if you own these things. And that's why I own them because I think they're going to do well. Anyway, I just wanted to point that out for some reason. Oh, I also wanted to point out, since I'm on this subject, Dutch Bros, I showed you the monthly. They're having an analyst day tomorrow. The CEO is speaking. I think it's at the Baird Growth Stock Conference, and I don't know if the CEO is there to waste her time. She's going to be saying something important. The stock really sold off today. At the open, you got a nice gap down. If I go to the 5 minute chart, come on, you're going to participate here, market surge? No, I guess not. Anyway, you're going to have to take my word for it. No, it's not going to do it. All right, it sold off at the open and then closed up. And I think Dutch Bros, you can see obviously here, cup with handle. I think this one has not even made its move yet. I'm going to get to the other ones a little later, I believe. Since I'm doing this exercise, I might as well. DoorDash, I don't think I put this one on my ready list this week, but definitely one that I had recently, one that I like, one that could because it's just trading along its five here near a buy point there, just a tick above it, and it was up nearly 1% today. And then the other one I mentioned, yeah, Robinhood. Now, a lot of people think Robinhood's going into the S&P 500. What's going on here? I gotta go further. I see why it didn't do it because I'm not on the right date. A lot of people think it's going to go on the S&P 500 this weekend. Their announcement will be after the markets close on Friday, probably a couple hours after the even after hours closes. They will announce an inclusion, and a lot of people think Robinhood is going in. I don't think they will. Coinbase just went in last month. Coin had a nice ripper on that news, but I don't think they're going to put another cryptocurrency company in. I actually believe that Apple 11 is the one that will be announced in. This one traded and closed over 400 today, so outstanding. All right. Since I'm back on the right time, I got to show you bros here with this nice sell-off here. Whoop! Look like a little whoop-de-doop. Yeah, on the old okey doke this morning, down like three something bucks. So it closed Friday around 72.53 and opened down the first hour, call it 68.70. So nice move lower, profit taking, and then buyers came in and it actually closed higher for the session, did it not? No, it didn't. Down 44 cents though, so that's better than being down $3. All right. They will be speaking tomorrow at the growth stock conference there that is hosted by William, I think it's Blair. Anyway, doesn't matter. Since I'm on bros, since I'm on these retail names, oddity, there's another one in this retail space making a new high today. 89% of the daily range. Nice 3% move for that one. Chewy is another one that's on our relative strength list. You could see why. Nice pop off the five today. Had to order some shampoo for my dog. Chewy's a great site. Anyway, up 5% today. And this is why I keep telling you to look at these relative strength stocks that I post in the morning, and they keep doing this same thing. You know, there's a reason why they're on there because they're strong stocks. And Chewy, man, just ripping today. Groupon, another. I call this a yeah, it's a retail stock. Definitely 11% move today. Wow. So that's going to remain on our relative strength. Stock list. It's got the volume. It's got the price action. Man, look at that. So a lot of nice stocks here that are showing strength, that are showing well. So don't listen to the naysayers. Don't listen to the news about, the geopolitical nonsense going on. Just look at your leading stocks, and they're going to tell you the strength of the market. We know coming out of, this shenanigans with the tariffs. Netflix was the first one out of the box. This one's still kicking ass. There's yeah, just a lot of good leading stocks. Let me get to more in a minute here. Yeah, I'm going to get to more, but I was on the retail kick, and I wanted to point out Elf. I did buy Elf, and the reason why is, I could have bought it before earnings, but it's a high risk, right? How many times have we been burned on earnings calls that you go south? So you wait and you pay more. And what it did on Thursday was just rally up to 120. So it had this low of 108.58, a high of 120.81, and Friday stayed within that range. So it had an inside day, depending upon your terminology. Strat people would call that something different, but that's okay. And then today it undercut the low of Friday, right? The low was 110.65. Today the low is 109.88. But neither day undercut the low of the gap day, which is 108.58. And even if it did, at this point, I would still probably hang on to it unless it really crashed below the five. But that five is steaming straight ahead. 2 days ago it was 95. Friday it was 100. Today it's 105. What's it going to be like 110 tomorrow? And I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe a pullback in the morning to the five and then a bounce higher. I think eventually it's going to take out that 120.81. But that's exactly what you want to see in a gap higher. just holding its gains, just going sideways, just form a little ledge, allow these moving averages to catch up. You could see that the 5 is now traded through the 200. To me, ELF looks fantastic. All right, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Before I get to the stocks that I really want to talk about, I got to show a couple of IPO names. Just put them on the radar. This is an insurance stock, AII. Just putting it on the radar here. Yeah, I like man, I know just a different group to follow, but I like following some of these IPO names. We hit it pretty big last year with A Lab and Reddit. And so I'm just, I keep monitoring these. This is Aspen, another insurance stock. Yeah, holding up okay. STRZ stars. I'm not as high on this one, but made a new high today at 22.98. And then the defensive name, I talked about defensive stocks earlier. Top five group. This is Carmen. Looks pretty darn good here. Bounced 3% off its five today. Anyway, that's it for the IPOs. I want to get to some of the stocks that I'm really excited about. CoreWeave mentioned news this morning. CoreWeave had news with Applied Digital, and this thing popped 8%. If you held it over the weekend and woke up this morning going, yippee-ki-yay, this thing was up to 123.66. A little bit of profit taking came in, but still closed up, 8%. CoreWeave, to me, this is the one stock in the market that kind of reminds me of Qualcomm back in 1999. It just wants to go higher. No rhyme or reason. I mean, back then, back in the day, of course, Qualcomm had a reason to go higher. CoreWeave, it's just one of these strong stocks. So, Tom Petty stock, it won't back down. So, definitely one with news today that I like. That's definitely showing strength. Spotify, another one I mentioned earlier, top stock in a top group. You could see the consumer education media, Spotify, and then, making a new high today. Duolingo did not make a new high, but still showing strength. It pulled back to the 21 on Friday and bounced. That one looks good as well. Net Cloudflare, another one of these software names. The software group's just looking fantastic. I think I had this on my ready list 2 weeks ago when it didn't go down. When the Nasdaq fell 2.5%, this thing went up 1%. And then last week, all 4 days were higher. Today, up another 2%. Cloudflare just will not back down. Zscaler. Now, I talked about a gap higher with ELF and kind of going sideways. Well, this one's not interested in going sideways. This one is trading higher and higher and higher. And this one's up, oh my gosh, yeah, 293 today, closed 98% of its daily range. Nice hammer candle. To me, that's probably going higher. You want to take a look at the monthly. Not quite like the Palantir, DoorDash, Bros, Hood, but you could see from the bear market highs there at what was it, 376. I had a buddy today saying it's going to take out that high at 376. And you know what? It just might. I would not doubt that. We got some news coming this week with CrowdStrike and Rubrik reporting. I think those are going to be strong reports, but we'll see what happens there. I don't want to get ahead of myself. I want to talk about some other names. Well, since I mentioned Rubrik, let's go to the Rubrik. Now, this one, yeah, bounced off its five today, traded up near 100, 99.79. Yeah, right there after hours. We'll see what happens. It's been surfing its five for a long, 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 long time. They report on Thursday. I wouldn't be surprised to see a blowout report, raise guidance, and have it sell off. Not, too harshly, but just, 4 or 5, 6% sell off. Just some profit takers, buy the rumor, sell the news type of action and give, the folks who have not been on this train, and I know there's a lot of folks that want in that aren't on this train yet. There's going to be some profit takers, and some folks are going to get off the train, and some folks are going to get on the train. But I think this train kept a rolling. I think it is going to keep rolling here. And 100 might be resistance short term, longer term. Like I said, I just bought, Dash and Bros and Hood and this one and TGTX in a long-term account and HIMS because I don't want to be trading. I don't want to screw it up. I know myself. I'll screw stuff up. So I don't want to screw it up. Roblox is another one that I like. And if I go to the monthly, this is kind of looking like those other ones, right? And the bear market sell-off, 2023, 2024, good years, but you know what? Might just be getting started here. computer software gaming stock, Roblox, and you can see it surfing its five. And these stocks can go a lot higher for a lot longer than you could possibly imagine. These are the ones that I want to be in. And Snowflake, another one, had earnings, gapped up on earnings, got these little David Ryan ants, pulled back to the five last week, popped on Friday, and again 2% today. Snowflake looks fantastic. Remember, stocks and people are no two are alike. We're all on different journeys. So that's my story with Snowflake. Intuit gapped higher with earnings. This is kind of doing the Z-scaler thing, right? Gapped higher on earnings. The following day was up 4.5%. Just keeps ripping higher. Yeah, it was down Friday, what, 0.5%. Now today it pops again to a new high. So this is the kind of action you see in bull markets or in uptrends when these gaps, you gap and go like we're seeing with some of these stocks that I'm showing you, and they're riding their fives to higher prices. Box is another one that reported and then gapped higher, and now just every darn day it had that inside day. On Thursday, Friday made a new high, and then today made another new high. And this one looks fantastic as well. Okay, go to the weekly here. Yeah, there's that double bottom breakout. Man, that looks good. Box does look good. I got to admit, not thrilled with the growth profile, but you can't complain about the price action there. App 11, I think I mentioned this earlier. I don't know if I did or not. I believe this one's going into the S&P 500. It'll be announced Friday after the close. 400, acted as resistance. It got the Matombo treatment on Thursday. Kind of played hide and go seek on Friday. Now today popping back above that 400. And I think eventually, looking in the rear view mirror, 6, 8, 12 months from now, 400 is just going to be like a little way station for App 11. All right. Finally, I think that's it for the software names and the growth and the momentum. But I've got to mention this energy group. Energy, obviously, with the data center, the growth of the data centers, there's a huge need for energy in this country. Data centers are sucking a lot of energy, and yeah, they're going to use nuclear. They're going to use whatever they can uh, for these data centers. And GE Vernova is right in the thick of it. It got downgraded last week, Thursday, fell back to what, 462, undercut its five a little bit. Friday recovered. Now today, this thing's looking like it wants to make new highs. What was the new high? 489.13. Today it was 486. So it's just right there. If I look at the weekly, it'll tell you 0.8% off of its high. So, look at this straight up from the bottom. Even when it's downgraded, it still goes higher. Yeah, I mean, if you bought GEV on that pullback, congrats to you. Proved to be an opportunity. I think it's just going higher. Yeah, so the VST was one that I was going to put on my radar list today. I didn't because I'm a dummy sometimes. I didn't put NRG either. I looked this morning. I kind of screwed that thing up. This pulled back to its five last week, popped 4.3% today. Nice move. If we take a look at the 5-minute chart, you can see the action here. Just 5, 10, 15 minutes in, rallied up, pulled back, some taking, and then buyers come in, just rallied. Nice day for VST. And the other one I like is NRG. Gap higher in earnings, forming this little ledge again. We're seeing this a lot with stocks. They're just holding their gains. You could call that a pennant. You could call it a flag. You can call it a flat ledge or a fledge. You can call it whatever you want, but I'm going to call it money in the bank. Once it trades above that, I'd call it 160, well, 162. What is that? 165. What am I doing here? 162 area, right? It was 160, 178. So anything above that is blue skies and go time for NRG. All right, drug stocks. I had to mention the drug stocks because they've been just hammered for so long, but there's some of them still holding in there. CPRX trading tight within its base, right at the five. I really like that action. I did not have it on my radar list, but that thing certainly could be right there if it gets above that 25 area. I like this growth profile in this name. It's just, the group has just been hammered. Um, What else was in this group that I like? Oh, I like TGTX. It's just long-term hold. They're going to speak at a conference on Wednesday. The CEO, Michael Weiss, will be there, and I don't know if he's going to say anything about, finances. I kind of doubt it, but he might say something about how business has been since the second quarter, which is April and May. So 2 months in now, so he should have a pretty good idea how the quarter's going. I don't know how much they're going to ask of him. They seem to ask him softball questions. I would certainly ask him much different questions, but we'll see. Are they raising prices on their drug? How is the patient going? How is their sub Q going? How, they started their trial? Do they have, how many people are going to be involved? There's a lot of questions that are unanswered with this company, and I wish these analysts would get off the ball and freaking ask them the right questions. Let me in there. I'll ask them the right questions. And why? This is another one, just you got to look at the weekly chart. That looks nice. Nice long consolidation back from October 2024. So nice 8 months of consolidating there for ALNY. And that's it for me. Thank you for watching at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up, except for in honor of the great Steve Jobs. I have one more thing, and that is uh, stay hungry, stay foolish, and stay humble. But whenever you're dealing with the government, you're going to get screwed. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. DraftKings, it hasn't been any great shakes lately, but today, they're talking about taxing, the winnings here. So this thing was hammered down 6%. The other one was a flutter. Anytime the government gets involved with anything that I own, it goes bad for me. So well, I just get out. If I owned DraftKings, I'd sell it. If I owned Flutter, I would sell it. I just don't like getting involved with the government. It just never works out for me. Anyway, I got a letter from the IRS. My heart skipped a beat. I looked at it after paying all these taxes for 2024. They say I owe them $26.15. So I got to send them a big check. All right, after hours, that's enough of me. Yeah, don't you hate getting those letters from the IRS? Man, they're after me again. Credo formed this little, flat ledge pattern, this little whatever you want to call it, a wedge, uh, supported by the 5 year. And then after hours, it popped 12%. They reported, beat on the top and bottom line, the earnings and sales. And then they raised forward guidance. So that's, the trifecta there for them. So good for Credo. Yeah, and I don't know, $70. I don't know if that's going to hold tomorrow, if it's going to rip some more, but definitely going to gap up higher, 12%. We're going to watch that one tomorrow morning. I think this one has some juice to go higher. It's got pretty decent short interest there, so they're going to have to cover in that one. Also, tomorrow morning, we're going to hear from Dollar General. This had a nice little pullback here to moving average. We'll see what they have to say. Also, OLLI, which is the discount retail store, they're going to report tomorrow morning. And SIG, Signet, is anybody buying jewelry anymore? We'll see. They're going to report in the morning as well. And obviously, the big earnings report tomorrow that I'm looking forward to is CrowdStrike tomorrow afternoon. This one, to me, if you're looking here at the, yeah, this is just starting to push away from this base. I want to see this earnings line tick up a little bit. You can see the, the blue numbers here. It's expected to have great sales, and we want to look at the monthly here. This had this, you know, nice IPO base ripped up higher, formed this second stage base, but this is still in an ascending pattern here during this bull market. One of the leaders here, and I think it's going higher, going to take out 500. Maybe not this week, but sometime soon. Just, over time, CrowdStrike taking market share. I think that will be reflected in the report. You can see a top group as well as I go through. I showed you Zscaler earlier and then Palo Alto Networks. This is going to move on CrowdStrike earnings report. Okta, I told you this is an avoid. Why would you buy Okta when you could own Rubrik, when you could own Net, when you can own CrowdStrike, when you can own Zscaler. Don't own the laggards, own the leaders. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And pay attention to those stocks at the top of our page at mcstockcharts.com because those stocks are the ones that are leading us higher. They're not all of them, but there's a lot of them in there that are just surfing their fives and trending higher, just like that one right there. So anyway, that's it for me. Thank you for watching at mcstockcharts.com. A lot going on, and we never give up. Thank you for watching.